Good Wednesday morning, and welcome to Ice Age TV, the internal combustion engine age YouTube channel that talks about all my cars and trucks and SUVs, the motorcycles, the camper, the dog, the Kiefer, the Ice Age TV sticker. Yeah, if you want a sticker, Ice Age TV comments at gmail.com. Just send me an email, I'll send you some stickers, send me pictures of your vehicle. Wow, what a beautiful Wednesday morning. We're just having a beautiful week of weather here compared to last week. And I mean, it's just perfect weather to be golfing, tennis, boating, cycling, walking around the neighborhood, doing jobs around the house, whatever it may be, being outdoors. Perfect time of year for us. And as good morning to all those that subscribe to my channel and watch me on a daily routine and participate and support it. Thank you very much. Hope you're having a blessed day. I got my stars and stripes on today as we get to the barn to have our morning conversation as we chat together. Do we chat together? Where I share my views and ideas and thoughts with you by taking a word of the day and then trying to create that into something of content that intrigues you to watch my channel, which is challenging, but I do it. And what are we going to talk about today, right? As we get in the shop here, and wow, what a great yesterday evening with Brian learning how to ride the Honda Monkey, and he had a blast. And if you watch that video, it's something that, like Roger Fisher said, he'll remember that for the rest of his life, of learning how to ride a dirt bike, or ride a, that's more than a dirt bike really, but learning how to use a clutch on a vehicle. Next project is to teach him how to drive a stick shift in one of the cars, and that'll be another how-to video and a sharing training video as well when that eventually happens. So here we are, get the dogs upstairs and get them out of the way as Kiefer, wild man Kiefer, if you watched my video yesterday, hey, stop it. He is about jumped out the office window. If you watch that video from yesterday, you'll know what I'm talking about with Brian riding around that Honda Monkey. And of course, good old Kiefer wants to chase you on the motorcycle and bite the tire, and I know how to handle all that stuff, but he didn't. So the kid threw Kiefer upstairs to the office, and that was like a big mistake. So if you watch that video, you'll see what happened there. Here's my coffee. Got to get some coffee here. Late night for me, and getting going this morning. We're making it happen. So on Monday, what did we talk about? Advertising. And then Tuesday, we talked about influence. So I thought those are some pretty good conversations. But then on today, I thought probably would be a good word is date, D-A-T-E. And I thought to myself, we haven't used that word in all the morning conversations. And I go through my library and I look up the words that I think of. And every now and then I have a word like, oh, I already used that word. So, but I think it flows with the week of conversations, because advertisers want to influence you to eventually buy something on a certain date, or more or less you'll see that like Dodge, they're having X amount of rebates on their cars until the end of X amount of date. They could say end of August 31st, 2024, and when it expires, that you get your $10,000 off your vehicle, your special rate, interest, whatever it is. So for mankind, it's always been about the date and how mankind evolved to figuring the calendar out and the date and everything else, and the before Christ, after death, all that BC AD talk. And one date that I think many, get out of there, don't do that. I think one important date that most believe in the Christian world is the death of crucifixion of Jesus Christ, which that was apparently April 3rd, 33 AD, or AD 33, I believe, on the Friday. So it's speculation. That's what the date they kind of use, but I don't know if they really know the exact date. But that's a date. And then for you and I as individuals, many of us can probably remember our first date. As if you are a man, a woman, whatever it may be, when you went out on your first date with that person you thought was so special. I'm sure everybody here on my channel can remember that day, or who that man or girl was, or whatever it may be for you in your life that was so special to you. And then another thing I thought to myself, what's the most important date in your life? And I think to myself, well, that's your birthday. Your birthday is probably the most important date in your own personal life. But you know what's kind of interesting about how we operate as human beings in this physical planet we live on is we all have a birth date. But you know, it's just it's weird to talk about it. But do you have a death date? And I think to myself, as many others I'm sure have thought the same thing, if you actually knew when you were going to die, would you have a different perspective of what you would be doing and getting accomplished in this world? And that's the thing about life. It's incredible on how when your mother became pregnant with you, they had a date and a time frame. They knew that you would come into the physical world of being outside the womb of your mother. But on the science and all the other things of mankind, we don't have knowledge. You know, we have speculation, but you don't have a death date. Now, of course, if you believe in the wrath of God and coming back to visit Earth, then I guess you could always say people think there's a date for that day to come, for the day of reckoning, that don't have salvation. But the whole point is, you would have a whole different perspective of your life if you knew you're only going to be here so many years. And would it be a good thing? Would it be a bad thing? And that's why I say it kind of gives you kind of the shivers and creeps to think, oh man, if you kind of knew when you were going to die, wow. But then that would be like your focal point, and that's the danger, because dates create that goodness in you, excitement in you, but then it creates the tension in you. So keeping the theme to the cars and trucks and motorcycles, I mean, one thing about all these vehicles I've had my whole life is if you ever get pulled over by a police officer, which I have been pulled over by the police, and you end up having a court date, then that just starts the emotions, the thoughts, the aggravation. It just depends what type of ticket infraction you got. But like in 2018, I've got a reckless driving ticket. So I had a court date where I or a lawyer had to be present in front of the judge to try to resolve that problem I got myself into. So that was a very nerve-wracking, very depressing, very aggravating time in my life where I created my own fiasco. And who doesn't know those stories? If you've been in an accident, whatever it may be. So, but for us, motorhead enthusiasts, and I think so many can relate with this story that's ever gone out and ordered a car, and you're given a date when it's going to come in. And for so many, I've been in these car forums throughout so many years, when you hear it's 6 months or a year away, it's just like, it seems like the clock stops. I can still remember being in the Hellcat forum community when the Dodge Challenger came to be with the Hellcat motor setup, how many people wanted that car, and everybody's being given these dates, and there was like the forever date because everybody wanted these cars like now. And so you're being told, oh, you're on a waiting list, or your production's not going to be till next year. And I've talked about this many times on my channel on how I went September 7th, if I remember right, in 2014, and I put an order in for a white Hellcat Dodge Challenger from Leesburg Dodge, and that's when I had a date in my head that I'd probably get that by December. My thoughts were I'd probably get it in November, December of that year, because I was the first guy at the dealership to put the order in, but to no avail. Never got a VIN number, never got a build date, nothing. People have heard this story on my channel that are more the people have been participating over the years. But the thing is, I was so excited about getting a Dodge Challenger that I was thinking to myself, man, when's it going to come in? When am I going to get? And so another week would go by, another month would go by, I'd go to the dealership, I'd talk to him, nothing. And then if you know the real story, it goes to January, and a red Dodge Challenger Hellcat shows up at Dulles Dodge. And I'm like, well, how did that happen? Because I'm too close with the general manager there. I'm too close with the dealership there. And I'm like, whose is that? And they tell me, well, it's the owner's personal friend that owns a AC heating company. And I'm like, but this makes no sense to me. Because I know for a fact that I was the first guy to put the order in for your dealership for my build on that Hellcat. Well, if you've heard the story, to this day, there's no doubt in my mind that that guy took my date. Yeah, he took my date. Yeah, does anyone know the story about you have a date with somebody and they cancel on you and somebody else takes your date? Yeah, I guarantee you people have tons of those stories. So that was so aggravating. I was really irritated because my build never happened. But it was one of these things where, in so many ways in life, I think people can all agree that you've had something that aggravates you, and you have this vision of the future, what's going to make you happy, but it just turns into making you mad and unhappy. And in the end, it was actually a blessing because the white Challenger, I'm not so sure that, I always kind of question me ordering a white Challenger, first of all. But secondly, they released for the 2016 model year the Plum Crazy. So, with all my aggravation in January of 2015, I actually put an order in for a Jazz Blue SRT Challenger with the peanut butter Laguna interior, leather interior, adaptive cruise control, a really, really nice Dodge Challenger. To this day, I sometimes question why I've never sold that thing, but I ordered that, and that car ordered in January. That thing came in, it came in like in April. It came in like in 2 or 3 months. And that was just a really great car. In fact, a local individual here owns that car. I actually saw my car about 2 summers ago at the car show in Leesburg, and I met the gentleman that had bought it, and he never knew who it was. And that was really cool. The car looked great. And I don't think he rushes my channel by any means on a regular basis. But anyways, the whole point of that conversation is I had a date set in my mind when that brand new Hellcat was being released, and I was going to be having one, be one of the first in the area to no avail. But in the end, it rewarded me because it gave me the opportunity to enjoy a really nice SRT package. And then eventually, when the ordering banks opened up for the Hellcat, again, for 2016, I ordered the Plum Crazy, and then it was like, I think it was September, October of 2015 that my 2016 Plum Crazy Hellcat came in. And believe it or not, I bought that car, loved that car, but it didn't have the adaptive cruise control, and in some ways, I just missed that SRT. In some ways, I kind of regretted maybe even buying it because I loved that Dodge Challenger SRT. It was such a great car. And I even questioned myself, was it really worth it for that extra power? Because you're 485 horsepower with that SRT package versus now I'm going to 707 or 700. And so sure, it's a big difference. It was a badass car, but it's a lot more money and blah, blah, blah. But then sure after that, the Dodge Charger Hellcat was released to be available in 2016, and what I did then to just kind of make it so I felt like I had the really badass car, I bought a Dodge Charger, ordered a Dodge Charger B5 Blue SRT package, and so that kind of kept the flavor and my temptation and my impatience of still having a really cool car until the Dodge Charger actually became available. And then I ordered a Redline, I don't know if it was Redline, I think it was Redline Dodge Charger Hellcat, which that didn't come in until I think later that fall. But it just gets kind of a lot of confusion there. But the whole point is, it's all about the dates. For all of us here, you see the release of the new motorcycle, the new car, and then you get all excited about wanting to have it, but it's always now the future date of when you're going to be able to get it. And then another thing I really like when I go around the car shows and I talk to people, I say, when was your car born? And they're kind of like, huh? I'm like, when was your car built? What was the date of the car that was actually built? And I talked about it many times on my channel and how I had a Ford Mustang GT500, that first one I ever bought, that was built on my mother's birthday. So that was so like, and I wasn't planned. I got a car that the dealer ordered. I didn't order it. That was just a fluke on how I got my first GT500 pre-pandemic. So for the date, but here's the thing about the date. Now we're more than ever living in the age, the ice age, that the governing bodies and the radical people want to push more of a date of the end of the Ice Age. So, I mean, you hear this on my conversations every single day of the theme of my channel, but it's the facts. The irony is, I'm not just spewing out words just to talk. It's the real deal that we live in the Ice Age, where they're creating dates to eliminate the death of the Ice Age. And that's what I was just talking about, is if you knew when you were going to pass away, and you knew the date that you would eventually die, you'd probably look at life a lot differently, and it'd be maybe even more challenging. And that's what we're dealing with the Ice Age, is the radical green agenda wants to create a death date for the Ice Age. And we've all heard the numbers, 2035. I mean, right now, the number in California is, in 2035, the death of the Ice Age new vehicle sale will come to be. So for anybody out there that's watching my channel, I'm sure you've heard those numbers, and I'm sure many just shake their head that it's the most stupidest thing in the world. You think to yourself that the governing bodies, the green agenda, are going to create the end of the Ice Age, and they set a date of 2035. And for some people, they're like, yeah, but that's a good 10 years away. But it's not. It's 8 years away. It's 7 years away for the California infrastructure. And what do I mean by that? If that law really comes to be in California, and you're a car dealership and you're a car manufacturer, you're not going to be building production cars, R&D, research and development, advertising. You're not going to be building these cars anymore, because typically a 2025 model year car will come out in 2024. So a 2035 vehicle that would be built to be sold in California in 2032 or 33, the car manufacturers are going to start pulling back for continuing to bring ICE new cars. Remember, this conversation is new ICE sales. The existing used ICE market, a car dealership can still sell a used ICE vehicle. But the state of California is going to ban the sale of any new ICE vehicle being sold. So the point what I'm trying to convey here is, most automotive manufacturers that will play the tune to California, because it's such a big state, huge population, huge infrastructure, they're probably going to turn off the lights for the death of the Ice Age in California by 2032 or 2033. And I guarantee you, we go 6, 7, 8 years from now, you'll hear stories of people saying, yeah, the dealership infrastructure of the ICE vehicles has just really disappeared and depleted. Now, I'm not talking about trucks. There's a fine line there and how all that language is written. So, I mean, there's going to be, even for me, I don't know all the fine details. But once again, it's a date by the green agenda and the governing bodies that are creating upon us, Ice Age people. They're now giving us the death date of our fun, our flair, our passion, of what we love. And we're only hoping that new people are transitioned into very powerful positions that will start to kind of tamer us down, and not continue to have this date of when all this Ice Age has to, come to an end, which I'm sure many people here, when I talk about this, are all on the same page as me, which you just think it just isn't going to really happen. It's not going to play out the way, and that's the danger when you set dates for the future. Who doesn't know the stories? You set a date of what you're going to do in the future, but at the end, it doesn't ever play out of what you really feel was going to be the date of your excitement or happiness or unhappiness. Oh my goodness gracious. Now, as you know as well, I'm just sitting here trying to keep the conversation going, everybody. As you know as well, the date of your car can play to your favor or disadvantage. And what do I mean by that? Well, as your car gets older in model years, typically the values of it go down. And that's a big problem for people that buy cars, because once you buy a car, you take a huge hit depreciation, and as time progresses and you pay down the car, it seems to be pretty proportional. As you pay down the car is worth about the same that you still owe on it. And that's a huge challenge. And that's even more of a challenge, more than ever, in the car industry today, because of the pandemic craziness of all the cars being overpriced and everybody paying premium prices for these cars. And now you fast forward to this time and date of time frame, and it's just one doomer gloomer video after another that is claiming that all these car dealerships are going broke and the automotive industry is going broke because of the date of the cars that they have sitting on their lot. And that's a huge challenge if you own a car dealership, a motorcycle dealership, a lawn and garden equipment dealership, that you have a date time frame where it's called a floor plan for you to sell all these new cars off your lot. Once those cars have sat on the lot and the manufacturers let you have these cars, let's just say they give you a 6-month window to get rid of a car, then the floor plan where they're carrying the money for this car, now it becomes time for you to start taking responsibility and start paying money on that car sitting in your showroom. That's why when you go to a car dealership, the smartest thing you can do on a brand new car is walk around the dealership. And when you walk around the dealership, you look for the window sticker in like Virginia. In Maryland, other states, it'll be more challenging for you to do that. But in the states that have the law to have inspection stickers, when you come up here, so let's just say this Corvette was brand new and has been sitting at the Chevy dealership. That means this car came in March of this year, and now it's August and it's still sitting here. Well, that just tells you right there, this car needs to get out of their inventory, because after X amount of months, that car is going to require the owner of that dealership to start paying a monthly fee on that car. And that's why the cars that sit in the lot the longest usually have the biggest discounts, because the dealership wants to get rid of the debt on that car and they start losing money instead of making money. The date on your car also, as you know, in the state of Virginia, requires emissions. You have to, continue to have your car have emissions that you have like once every 2 years. You have to, in order to re-register your vehicle, you have to have an emissions inspection on it. And typically in Virginia, it's a 2-year window, I believe, that about every 2 years, your car has to go through emissions inspection. And if it doesn't pass, then you got a problem. But if you're a person that has a car that's like 25 or 30 years old, they then have like the antique status. And for you, you're exempt from having to have that emissions. And once again, it's all about the date of the green agenda on over here on the EV vehicle. Hey, did you see my tow video? So yesterday, I towed with this truck, and I've talked about it so many times. On this truck, if you're not pulling an enclosed trailer, you do really well on the distance to that battery being drained. It's radical. So yesterday, I was seeing over 2 miles per kilowatt with a flatbed trailer, with a dump trailer, versus when you go to those enclosed trailers, you go to like 0.8 miles per kilowatt. So it's all about the wind resistance that really kills this truck. The weight will have impact as well, but not as radical when it's like a utility trailer or just a very low profile trailer, even maybe a low profile boat. And so it's very practical. And the thing is so torquey. I mean, the truck, I can't emphasize enough, the Lightning truck is a really great truck, but it's got its limits and capabilities. And that's a challenge, because if you take this truck and you've got a date to be somewhere, it's much more challenging to travel from here to Florida in a specific time frame and date versus me driving that diesel truck or my gas cars or whatever it may be, because that slows down your date to get there, because it takes so much time of pulling over and recharging the vehicle. But that's all changing as well, because there's a constant date that you hear talk through all the car analysts and all the technology of the future batteries, the solid state batteries, blah, 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 right? Just the list goes on and on and on. Back here in the collection of my motorcycles, I ordered a, I guess you call it the heat? What do you call that right there? I'm just trying to think. It disperses the heat away from the engine. And on this Road Glide ST, it doesn't have that. And it kind of, when the bike's kind of parked more by itself, it kind of has a naked look to it. So I ordered on the internet very inexpensive heat shields, and this goes right up in here. Let me see if I can get my phone. The other day I did this and I dropped it, and I thought I scratched it. I'll probably do the same thing again today. But I think this really, if I'm doing it right, am I doing it right? I think I am. Okay, there it is. So see here, I think this really gives the bike a lot more character. And I was kind of worried that shiny wouldn't look good with this, but I think it looks pretty good. So I'm going to do a little how-to video on how to put that on there. And that's just one of many projects on the accessories. And today, I'm going to take my strut and my bracket from that Super ATV front windshield, and I'm going to go to the dealership, and I'm going to have them pull out the exact same box, exact same windshield, and let's look at the brackets and see if they're the same. I can only hope that the brackets are incorrect. Now, for the Ram truck down here, as you know, the date has expired for you to be able to technically order one of these, I believe. Somebody out there may know better than me, but as it stands right now, that truck, I believe, is no more ordering from the factory to have them built. Maybe, maybe not, but the end of the date of that vehicle is done. So the 2024 Ram TRX Hellcat motor, it's over. It's interesting how they killed the Dodge Challenger in 2023, but they kept the Hellcat motor going, and they put to production on a 24 style of the Dodge Challenger and the Charger. Kind of befuddling a little bit because they kept the engine going, but who knows on that. And now, as you know, everybody that's into electric vehicles is probably anxiously waiting for the date of the new Dodge Charger Daytona that's going to be all electric coming to your local dealership. But it sounds like that won't be till like the fourth quarter of this year. I thought they'd be hitting the lots by more like August of this year. Now, what's another important date that's on our schedule this year is, as everybody knows, it's election year. Let me get some water here. It's election year, and there's a big date coming up in November to decide the fate of our country. I mean, is it? I mean, I was telling Brian yesterday, who's a new employee and a younger man, and I try to share with him views and ideas and try to keep it so that you can kind of come to closure what you think makes sense and doesn't. And so I was saying to him yesterday that what's unfortunate in today's society is they prop up one individual to the media that's the so-called, the magical person to make everything work right. And I said, it's so unfortunate because it's just like a coach of like a basketball team. It's just like a manager of a business. It's all related to an individual that has people around them that make them look good. And that's the key to success in life is that you're able, I mean, Henry Ford, he found, what he figured out in life, he found very talented people that knew how to make things and build things, and he managed them that made him look good. Henry Ford would be the first to admit that he didn't know how to do all that engineering and all that other crazy stuff that he created through the Ford Motor Company. He had help. And so the key about success is an organization of people that are around you. And so it isn't just a personality of, say, Kamala Harris that everybody's propping up to be this incredible woman that's going to lead this country in the right direction. The real question really is, who's going to participate with her to make her look good? Who would sacrifice himself to put in the tedious hours and work and the challenges of being looked at, the good and bad? Who's going to be her key players that surround her to help this country go in the right direction? And that's a big challenge for anybody that's in power, to bring the right people, the right players in his organization to make things great. And that's the difference between great organizations and failures of organizations. So for me, I think many would agree that I just don't see the really incredible, talented people surrounding themselves around Kamala Harris. I don't see it. I just can't believe it. I just don't see that leadership in her, and you feeling that that's somebody that you really want to represent and help. I mean, sure, there's tons of people out there going to raise their hand, but I'm talking about the talented of the talent. What's very interesting is very good YouTube video. I think it's Victor Davis Hanson. If you ever go to his YouTube channel, he's a very smart, brilliant man. And yes, sure, he leans conservative, but he speaks very affluently and very knowledgeable. And there's a really good video that talks about what's going on in this country in the college side that it's a disgrace because of the DEI, and everybody gets to be the winner. And he talks in great length about what's going on in today's college environment, of how many people are coming out of college that really aren't educated to what they could have been years ago. And he uses Stanford as like the example of at the one time was the elitist university that churned out all the lawyers, the doctors, the engineers. It churned out incredibly talented people. But it was incredibly challenging to get into that college, be accepted because of the SAT. Well, if you understand the SAT has been dropped out of the college system. So now for your IQ to qualify to be in Stanford isn't necessarily the same as it would have been years ago, where most likely you wouldn't even get into that college. So the point of his conversation is that the professors of the country and the colleges of the country are doing a disservice to the younger generation more than ever, because they're surrounding themselves with other individuals that aren't as astute or not as challenged to learn and to rise above others and be better and really be better in their challenge of life of becoming independent and striving to be the best. But that's all, that tone has changed. And that's why he's saying that it's very, very sad that the universities are jacking their tuition rates. Universities are getting young people to sign off loans that they're indebted for life. And these younger people just don't understand what they're really agreeing to. And meanwhile, the colleges have lowered their standards where you're not really getting what you think you're getting because of you're not in the same class of knowledgeable people and smart people as you were, say, 10, 20 years ago. And the whole reason I'm talking about that is I think that goes right to where we are in our governing bodies. More than ever, I think many would agree that there's many people in positions that don't really have the smarts or talents that have the rights to be in that position. But for some reason, they get elected and they're in that political power. Or even in business, I'm sure many people here can tell the stories in bigger companies where it was just maddening that you worked with just incompetent, dumbass people. It was just, you would go home at the end of the day where your manager or the higher up boss was just borderline incompetent and didn't know what they were doing. And in the end, possibly ruined the company and possibly even ruined your own job. And how does this have everything to do with the date conversation? Well, the date is approaching us this year. Where do we transition from this sitting administration, which I think many would agree doesn't have top tier talent to run this country correctly, and do we transition to a new date where we bring in talented people that can hopefully reverse the direction of our country? And some people, I'm sure, would be like, this country really isn't as bad as you say it is, Mr. Iceman. Well, I will agree with you on the surface. Everything does look beautiful. It really does. I mean, sincerely, there isn't any bombs in our backyard. There isn't anybody showing up per se doing really, really bad things per se. But you have to really look underneath all of that, look under the rug, and really just step back and realize that this city administration let the most radical amount of illegal immigrants come into this country and supported them like never seen in modern times. This city administration is now funding 2 major wars. I mean, radical major wars that are truly, one of them is on our doorstep with Iran and Hezbollah and the Hamas. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So once again, everything's beautiful here. You go over to Israel, the Palestinians, they're going to tell you this is the worst of their life they've ever witnessed in their whole life. You go over to the Ukrainians, the Russians, you're gonna have a whole different perspective of how everything's so beautiful, everything's so great. We've been blessed so far in this country not to have anything on our side of the territory, domestic side, of having to deal with just brutality. I mean, we're not primed for that. Sincerely, this country, are we really primed for that? I don't think we are. I think just the littlest thing could be a huge disruption to the whole infrastructure of this country. And once again, it's a constant rhetoric of everything's going to the bottom, but I'm still waiting to see it. I still don't see the half-price house. I haven't seen the car dealerships go out of business. I mean, in the doomer gloomers I talk about all the time on my YouTube channel, they are telling everybody every day that everything's done and over and everybody's going to be broke. And then the stock market rises to its highest level ever. And then the big sell-off starts, but then only just to reverse itself back. I mean, to follow the stock market, I think, and think that's an indication of the times, I think that's a mistake. And I think many would agree with that, because that isn't really, for the average person, the reality to where they are in their life. And remember, one thing you're going to hear everybody talk about is that the cost of living has gone up so much, it's more challenging than ever to have the basics and the goods. And so for us, we've got an important date coming up, but I think many would agree with me that even that date that happens and what plays out, do you believe the end results? And the media machine, more than ever, as I said, is advertising and influencing more than ever. There's a very important date on our doorstep to make sure a woman named Kamala Harris and Mr. Waltz get to have the ticket to run this country. And wow. And once again, I get it if you're a defense contractor. I get it if you're into the green agenda. I get it if you support the LBGQ2, whatever the hell, all they breathe. So I get that. If you're the person that's making tons of money off the wars, if you're the person making tons of money off the green agenda, if you're the person that likes the transitioning of men and women becoming, whatever the hell they want to be, then you're going to be all about wanting to see Kamala Harris be elected. Yeah, reelected. It's just Obama being elected. I mean, it's so sad that Obama just is behind the scenes and the media just shadows him and protects him like you can't believe. He gets on X and he tries to portray himself as this, big loving, I'm such a good guy, everything's so great. It's so bad that for Barack Obama, he had 8 years in office. He lost 4 years to Trump. He got back 4 years with Biden. So there's 12 years. If he gets Harris in, there's 16 years. If Harris gets a rerun, there's 20 years. And then, so just conservative number here, potentially Barack Obama has close to a quarter century while there's a school bus doing the morning test. So a week from today, a week from today, school starts up here. Wow. I can still remember standing up at that gate with Julia. Man, that's just incredible, man, how time freaking just goes by. So for Obama, he's going to have close to a quarter of a century of his policies and his views. And what's incredible here is Elon Musk and Donald Trump and their conversations, their phone conversation, and a lot of people, UAW. So Sean Fain, the UAW, is now suing Elon Musk and Donald Trump from the conversation. This is how much a crybaby this Sean Fain guy is. He is. He's a big crybaby because he's crying the blues that when Elon Musk and Donald Trump had their phone conversation Monday evening, that they talked about how these unions are just a scam. They're not good. Okay, so they're just voicing their own opinions of what they feel like. They don't like the unions per se. But from those conversations, now Sean Fain is suing them for bad-mouthing the unions. Are you kidding me? Oh my God, it's just beyond believable. Are you kidding me? They're not. Okay, so Trump's going to be able to go take away UAW? I mean, sincerely, really? So it's just political hype. It's just the media. I can guarantee you that somebody from Kamala Harris's team called Sean Fain and said, hey, you got to file a lawsuit against Trump and Elon Musk to make them look bad. You got to start telling these people are terrible people. So you got to start promoting how they're just bad people. They don't like people. And that's the underlying message. That's all it's about. That lawsuit will go nowhere. But the media will give it all the attention in the world so that it just continues to push that date for Kamala Harris to think she's going to be the winning ticket because she's just going to tarnish and trash Donald Trump and J.D. Vance at every angle. But Barack Obama is behind the scenes. And that's what's so sad about our country is for the average person, I think the average person somewhat understands the Barack, the Muppet, but at the same time, the media won't expose it. The media won't show you how Barack Obama is living just a few blocks from the White House, and they won't show you how many cars go in and out of his residence every day, and what different personalities are going in and out of that house every day as he's the guy running the show. It's so bad. And I can still remember when Donald Trump was in office, all the Democratic Party talked about was that Donald Trump's going to take away the right to vote, and he's going to be the king of the country. He'll be the dictator of the country. This is all the Democratic Party talked about how Donald Trump is going to rewrite the laws. Yeah, right. You can't do that. You have to have the Senate and the Congress, the House. You can't just make up this stuff on your own. But the average person buys into it, and it's so ridiculous because the reality is the guy that's running the show, that's the king of the country, his name is Barack Obama. But the message is the opposite. They're telling everybody that Donald Trump's going to be the guy that takes control of his country, and he'll never let it go. He'll always be the guy in control. Oh my gosh, it is so bad. Now, so for me, I know some of my YouTubers watch my channel. I know some get irritated, irked on this, but hearing the facts and the truth, sometimes that's hard to hear. You don't want to hear it, and that's the goal. The goal for the date this November is you just don't want to hear it. You don't want to hear it. Do you really not want to hear it? Because the sad fact is that's the goal. That's the goal. They want you to turn it off, and then just the people that want something so bad for the handouts, entitlements, those are the people that are going to show up at the polls like never ever seen before. And sadly, the people that are going to show up in the droves are all these illegal immigrants that are being told they can vote in the federal election. I mean, just wow. Where's the date on your license when it expires? And do you get to get a new license? Yeah, where's that date? Yeah, where's the date where all these illegals, their time has expired and they have to go back where they came from, and the countries that got rid of them have to take responsibility? That conversation just doesn't exist. Meanwhile, we're more than happy to fund the wars overseas and give billions of dollars away to go blow up and kill people. But when it comes to this country and illegals show up, our position is, you know what? It is what it is. It is what it is. Not you guys got to go back to your country. By the way, Mr. Dictator Venezuela guy, you got to start taking care of your people. Otherwise, we're going to start shipping the bombs over to visit you. It's just so backwards. That's it. I'm done. I talk a lot. I get it. So the date. What is your date, right? What's your date? Do you have a special date coming up? You getting married? You got your wedding anniversary? Yeah. The men are notorious for getting the date of their wedding anniversary. Who doesn't know that story? Yeah. You forget that date. Yeah, you'll probably be forgotten in your date to the life that you live. Okay, that's it. I'm dated. I'm out. So everybody, thanks for watching my channel. Keep up the good comments. I appreciate good comments. It's challenging when you get bad comments, and good morning to all my subscribers. I'm not going to name anybody in particular because sometimes I feel like some people think that I'm not acknowledging them. There's a lot of great subscribers. So for everybody out there, good morning to every one of you. I hope you're having a blessed day. And the Muppet Master, the Puppet Master was going to get a Demon 170. I told him to email me the pictures of the car if he got them. I think it's a Puppet Master. So many different usernames on my YouTube channel. It's hard to remember every one of them. So there you go. I'm done. Have a great day. God bless.